Well, Amphibia sure proved it doesn't need to be a big season finale to pull on our heartstrings. Season 2, Episode 9, Little Frogtown and Hopping Mall takes the audience by surprise with two emotional resolutions. One that uplifts you, and one that leaves you a sobbing mess. A common theme of cartoons this year, it seems. Or more so the last decade, but you know. As always, we're going to run through these segments for any details I found interesting, alongside touching on that big tearjerker moment at the end. And as always with Amphibia, I have more to say about one segment than the other. Whoops. Of course, spoiler warning. If you're not caught up with Amphibia, please go catch up and then come back. Starting with Little Frogtown, we finally got an Amphibia Noir episode. One that makes all the internal monologue jokes. Now, the ending of the episode is actually foreshadowed with its introduction. The planters watching an old detective film on Anne's phone, with the lead character confronting the mastermind of the operation, who in question is sitting turned around in a chair, much like Sal. I'm surprised the detective bit didn't include something similar, but perhaps they didn't want to be too on the nose. A solo hop-hop adventure was fun to see, especially when it went black and white with the 16:9 bars. And from an art animation perspective, I noticed a pretty cool detail. Hop-hop, a few of the characters, and props are actually in color but dulled down. It was just kinda cool to notice. And I'm actually really interested on the color design process of this episode. What do those model sheets look like? Maybe one day we'll learn from the Amphibia crew themselves. But you know what wasn't dulled down? Hop Hop committing murder? He straight up sauces a man! And considering how they use the term body towards the end of the episode, I don't believe that frog is doing too hot. And yeah, again, this episode's pretty straightforward. Hop Hop infiltrates the gala, stumbles upon a sauce factory, and confronts the mastermind only to learn that it's Sal himself, leading to a sweet moral about the future and change. Sal's sandwiches weren't doing that great, but everybody loved the sauce. So tradition was foregone for change. And what Sal says about change, how if you embrace and adapt to change, that you'll have a say in the future, really stuck with me. That's going to be one of the thousands of inspirational cartoon quotes that will orbit around in my brain for years and years to come. Now, and Sprig and Polly's B-plot was hilarious and relatable. I loved the look of the Newtopia arcade. I really wanted to see what Amphibia arcade games would look like, much like how we got a neat callback with the taser, and getting a look at how factory workers operate. Now, we've all had people cut in front of us before. Sometimes we've even been the people who cut in line. It could happen just by accident. You didn't know the line started there. But, and yeah, you should probably chill out a second and not threaten kids. Though I noticed that the concept of Anne being a beast keeps coming up, often in the format of a gag. This has felt more consistent in Season 2, so I feel as if they're building up to something. Don't forget what Hop Hop said in Wax Museum.
But only if you keep your hood up. I don't like you drawing so much attention to yourself.
But that takes us to Hopping Mall, a heavy and important episode for more reasons than one. Although it starts off on a lighthearted note, the stores in the Hopping Mall are great. I love how we have a punny store like Hop Topic, and then jump to a more blunt parody with Frog Players. It elicited the same dumb laugh out of me that the Curator and Frog Seuss got. Come on, Frog Seuss! Sprig mentions Ivy, his love interest back in Wartwood, and not only am I glad that they followed up on this, I greatly miss the Wartwood characters and I hope more pop up soon. An upcoming episode is titled Return to Wartwood, and although I'm loving all of these familiar faces, the show is doing a great job at accomplishing what they're aiming to do. As a viewer, Season 2 may be more story-driven, but where it really grips me is in the atmosphere. Because we spent most of Season 1 in Wartwood, we get the exact same feelings one can find on a trip, aka missing people back home. That general feeling of homesickness, but still amazed at all the new sights. Still going ooh and ah at everything pretty we see. It's those kind of details that really helps the show stick with its audience. And although the show itself hasn't drawn attention to it, it's something still worth recognizing. Anne wants to find a gift for her mom, leading her and Sprig to enter an antique shop full of butterfly-centric crafts. If you remember in the previous episode when we saw Anne's mother in the flashback for the first time, she actually had a butterfly hair clip, so the feels in this episode hit even harder. After finding the perfect butterfly teapot made by revered Newtopian artist Penny Paddock, Anne learns it can only be won by coming out victorious in the annual Smash and Mash Derby, and is soon after introduced to her competition, Priscilla the Killa, and her daughter Pearl. Whale Pearl, Gem Pearl, Frog Pearl. Unbeknownst to the audience until the end, Priscilla is the daughter of Penny, wanting to win the last piece her mother ever made. Now take a moment to acknowledge the butterfly belt buckle on Priscilla. This family clearly has a love for butterflies, one that, to Priscilla and Pearl, likely doubles as a strong love for Penny. Priscilla's appearance feels as if she could be a part of the Newtopian army, although her design is definitely reminiscent of Cloud Strife, so perhaps she could be a mercenary. We also learned her tail was injured in the last derby and still making a recovery. I mention all of these things because I believe they're important for a reason that we'll follow up on at the end of the breakdown. Now, I also noticed that both Priscilla and Polly have a dark X on their skin, multiple on Priscilla, which is identical to the X on King Andreas' armor, which I previously speculated to be some sort of sustained damage, but now I'm not so sure. I actually kind of want to distance from that idea entirely. Considering there are on other newts we see in both segments of this episode, I am curious. Is this just simple markings newts are born with, naturally becoming an emblem of sorts, which is why it's present on the King's armor and Priscilla's gauntlet, or does it run deeper? Definitely keep an eye out. And I'm sure there are some amphibian experts who can school me in the comments. Seriously, any idea on what this is can be a good idea. Polly haggles and obtains a golden bucket, which I notice has a very interesting detail on it. Newts upholding 3 floating diamonds. So of course, there's a connection between the newts and the box. Something Hop Hop already kinda called, but it feels much more direct than just knowledge they happen to obtain. Not only that, next to a newt is a giant monster-like amphibian reaching out towards the newts and the gems, appearing to desire the gems for themselves, likely alluding to the same giant amphibian seen at the end of the theme song on a mural. There's a brief Smash Bros reference, with Sprig blocking an attack from an opponent and countering, setting the toad and newt flying off screen as you see an impact. All the visual details you would find in a Smash KO are present. All that it was missing was game. Priscilla and Pearl are defeated when Priscilla stops her cart from hitting Polly by wrapping her injured tail around a pole, paying off the setup from earlier, and is awarded the teapot when Priscilla approaches and congratulates her, asking Anne to take good care of it, as the artist responsible for it was one of a kind, reminiscing about Penny in a very particular way that clues in Anne and the audience that Priscilla's mother was Penny. Anne insists on giving Priscilla the teapot, putting them on good terms, and Pearl hands Anne a piece of her own, a sparkling blue butterfly. Anne embraces with Priscilla, who tells Anne not to be a stranger, setting the stage for us to see Priscilla again. Now, theory time! Priscilla will pop up as one of the newts defending Newtopia when Grime and Sasha invade. I feel as if the invasion will be one where we're invested in both sides of the battle, which is why episodes like these that introduce and develop a resident of Newtopia is important. When they pop up again, we will care about their safety. We won't want them to be hurt, but with Priscilla's tail likely needing more time to recover after the strain she put on it in this episode, she already has a pretty clear weak point. And if anyone would take advantage of that, I could see it being Sasha. I think I might actually cry if something happens to Priscilla. Think about Pearl, and how tragic that would be, not just because of Priscilla losing Penny likely to old age, but because of what we find out at the end of this episode, which takes us to the emotional core of the segment, its beautiful ending. Back at the hotel, Sprig and Anne have a heart-to-heart on the balcony, starting with Sprig waking up from an unspecified nightmare, which I wonder if it will be a premonition of some sort, only to find Anne in deep thought, staring at her butterfly gift. Earlier in the episode, Sprig was taken aback when hearing Anne wanted to find a gift for her mom. And here, he's straightforward in asking Anne about her mom and what she's like. The reason for this curiosity? Stomping our hearts. But I digress. How Anne describes her mom really hit close to home for me. Anne's mom could annoy her. They could clash over how Anne spends her time, as her mom only wants the best for Anne and for her to find success. She was caring in her own way, finding that Anne goofed off too much and needed to focus more on her studies. All of these things I could definitely apply to my own relationship with my mom. Anne also mentions how her mom would sing Thai songs off-key. Loud singing mother? Check. Despite how much they clash though, Anne obviously loves and misses her deeply. I was in Anne's shoes, or shoe, for a minute, as up until the end of this February, I lived with my mom. For those who are unaware, I started this channel in my teens, but I finally saved up enough to move into an apartment. And yeah, I miss my mom. Despite us living close, we're in a global pandemic that we're both taking seriously, so I can't see her that much. It's hard not being able to spend as much time with her as I thought I was going to be able to after moving out. Granted, unlike Anne, I am still able to see her from time to time for brief moments, but still, I miss her quirks all the same. I'm sure if anyone moved into a college dorm, studied abroad, whatever the case may be, may feel the same. Truly being able to spread your wings and fly, leaving the nest of your caretaker, isn't always easy. But this takes us to the big heavy hitter. The big reveal that a lot of fans called prior, but still hit like a ton of bricks in the moment. Sprig remarks, "It's cool that Anne knows her mom," revealing that he and Polly's mom passed away when he was young. He doesn't remember what she looks like or the sound of her voice, and he wonders if you can miss someone you never met. That line broke me. My girlfriend could feel the waterworks about to come out of my face. I had to pace around to not be a sobbing mess. There you have it. Sprig's mom passed away when he was young, and we're still uncertain what happened to his father. However, the details aren't really important for this episode. Dead parents aren't exactly a new thing for stories, especially Disney, but after spending so much time with the Planters and getting to know them, having such a vulnerable moment with Sprig means so much more. And the setup was true to real life. I feel like big yet private heart-to-hearts on trips are almost a staple of traveling with friends. I'm glad this moment exists for those who do relate to Sprig in this instance, that it can provide some sort of comfort knowing you're not alone. Thank you, Amphibia. Thank you to the crew behind this episode. You truly made something special. Now, before we go, I do know some people speculate Sprig and Yunnan are related. People actually believed that she was Sprig's mom from the jump, like the second we saw her, people were like, okay, Sprig's mom. And I can't necessarily blame them. There are similarities in both the color of their eyes, tongue, and mouth. Oh, and they're both red. Now, I suspect if anything, they could be related in the sense of being cousins or something along those lines, thanks to Emma the Newt being a part of the Planter family tree, and Marcy acknowledging that Sprig doesn't have normal colors for a frog. However, I suppose only time will tell. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? How did you feel about this episode? Which segment did you enjoy more? How could it not be Hopping Mall? And hey, if you need to cry, cry. If you need to express your emotions, express them. It's okay. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And for more of our own thoughts, you can find us at Roundtable Vids or me at Box on both Twitter and Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Fox signing out.